Alright, so that's loud. I'm going to talk about Decision to Leave. Now, it's a K-drama crime dealing with bobber thing, and initially, I went into it being like, alright, a lot of people are talking about this movie, and I'm thinking, okay, it's K-drama stuff, so it's at least interesting and shot well and acted well, all that stuff. And so I went into it, I'm just like, alright, cool. And it's got the crime thing to it. I'm like, alright, a little bit more interesting to me. Then there's a little bit of romance. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course, it's K shit. Of course it's gonna be like, oh, I love you, but I can't. You know that's what it's gonna be. And then it, takes a bit of a turn. And I was like, oh, okay, alright. It's one of those, you're watching it like this. And then it's like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay. And then that ending, just, yeah. Well, I'll go into spoilers in a second. This has to be my favorite movie of the year. It's a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I don't even think I can rate anything else as high as this. Oh wait, nope, nope exists. But for real, it's one of the top movies of the year. But anyway, I'm gonna go into spoilers. 1, 2, 3 spoilers. So, the movie is this young woman who's Chinese, and she can speak, definitely way better Korean than me. As always, I know food. That's the best I can do. Anyway, so her husband, who is an older guy, he dies. Of course, she is the suspect, all that stuff. And so the older detective guy who has to question her, you can already tell there's some kind of chemistry and all that stuff, a little bit of flirting, all that going on. He's even during the questioning, she's he buys her lunch, and it's not just here's a sandwich kind of thing. He orders sushi, and it's I've never been to South Korea, so I don't know if how high end the sushi spot is, but think about it, it's sushi. It comes in a really nice box. The logo is all, what I'm saying? It's not coming in a thank you bag. And even the fellow police people were like, that place, is he being reimbursed for this? In that kind of way. And so you're like, okay, so he's buying her some high end sushi for the questioning stuff. And then, he's being weirdly oddly nice to her. And because I'm so used to obviously American movies or just Western movies where the colleagues kind of would tease them about it, they're just kind of well, okay. The colleagues are just huh, okay, he spent a lot of money on her, that's strange. Anyway, so it goes in this thing where she's being accused of killing the guy, and it's well, there's no way, she helps old people and all that stuff. She seems really nice, and but it's the whole thing where the audience is oh, well, there's no way she did it, because they want us to think she did it, because that's too obvious of a thing. She couldn't have done it. And again, she's helping old people, all that stuff. And so then when they find out okay, the husband died of a suicide or something, it was pretty much oh, we figured out, it's not your fault, you're good. And so then the detective guy starts hanging out with her a little bit more, and they kind of just get to know one another, um and all that stuff. And she's just kind of well, you're done with this, with this, and I'm not part of it. Just, looking at his, I was about to say mood board, but his evidence board. She's well, I'm not part of this anymore. Removes anything that has to deal with her, and just let's get rid of it, burn it, on your phone. Just get rid of it. I'm not part of this. Just clear your mind, just so you can figure other things and move on, and because that detective has insomnia and all these things. I mean, being the fact that he is a detective guy, and he sees a lot of things on the scene and all that stuff. Your sleep patterns are just gonna be a little bit out of whack, So, they get all flirtatious to go out and eat, to hang out in each other's places and all that stuff, and then they finally they kiss, and it's very much a K-drama thing where it's cute little romance thing. It's not in Western films where they're just fucking. It's just oh. They like each other, kind of thing. Cool. Alrighty. And then, but then it was just like, but then the movie kind of like goes like, what? Because you're like, okay, you think it's what you think it's gonna be. And then it's like, oh, wait. So, like, before I go into that, so the movie does that kind of like Sherlock kind of thing, where like the detective guy, or even like Hannibal thing, where the detective guy kind of like goes into the crime scene and he's like, there kind of stuff, or even when he's like stalking the woman that he has an interest in, it's like, even though he's outside with binoculars, it's like he's in the room. Like, they kind of do that way of storytelling, which is very interesting, and I do enjoy that they kind of went with that. Um, like, yeah, like in Hannibal, when Will is like, this is my design. Yeah, very much so. Anyway, so then they figure out, they're like, wait a second. Not wait a second, but pretty much it's like, so the woman was talking about how, like, women's hands are usually really soft and her hands are pretty rough. Well, the thing is, like, her husband died because he fell off, like, this kind of weird plateau-y cliff thing. But he, like, was like a climber dude and all that stuff, and he's, like, recording and filming. He's got cameras, but he, like, falls, and you don't see, like, I mean, did he slip, all that stuff? They're, like, saying it's probably slippery because even when the detectives went up there, they're like, oh, it is kind of slippery, so he probably slipped. Well, it turns out it really was the wife. She deadass really killed him. You see that, like, because her hands are rough, she went, climbed, on the easier side, and, like, pushed him off. And it was just, like, as I'm watching this, thinking, like, for a second, I was like, okay, maybe because I'm reading subtitles, and sometimes I just kind of, like, stop paying attention, or, what I mean? Or, like, I had to, like, rewind a bit to be like, wait. Is this actually is this an actual discovery this detective is figuring out, or is a, like, hypothetical thing, like, this woman's too good to be true, I think she killed her husband? It's like, no, they figure it out, dead ass, she killed her husband, but there's no, like, proof because she took the physical photos, burned them, and had him delete any evidence of her from his phone. So, like, I was just like, wow, lady, you are smart to figure that out. To be like, hey, you know what? Like, we like each other, right? Take photos, throw out, all that stuff. And then also, like, well, the dude also figured out that, like, her and the old lady that she takes care of have the same make and model phone. And that, like, you look at the old lady, who's very sedentary, that, she's immobile, that her phone, it's like, the step counter is like 0, 0, 0. And one day it said like 128 or something. Like, when did this grandma get up and take 128 steps or 128 flights or however it's calculated in that app? And anyway, bitch moved. It's like, how? They can't convict her on it because, again, there's no evidence. It's just like, well, we figured this out, but all the other stuff that would have linked it just wasn't enough. So there you go. Fast forward several years later, the guy and his wife, they moved somewhere else, and then the woman also, like, the guy and his wife, they moved, and then the woman who killed her husband with a new husband moved to the same space, the place, town, or whatever, and that woman she's having an affair with another dude. Like, not the, she has a husband and she's having another affair. But this bitch loves having affairs. K-dramas. And, like, this dude's, like, beating her, and then she's like, yeah, you beat me again, and, like, I'll tell your... Well, it was just, like... I'm just like, girl, like, you're taking this whole, like, being a manipulative cunt to, like, a whole... Like, this is, like, Gone Girl levels of, like, okay, bitch, okay, damn, alright? And one day they're at, like, a market or something, and they run into each other, and, the wife of the detective guy is kind of like, huh, and then the husband of the lady was kind of like, I'm her new husband, kind of like, ah. Anyway, fast forward a bit, he's dead in a pool. Okay, and he's just kind of like at the edge of the pool, drained pool, dead. And it just turns out that, he died. He died from reasons, her. And then she drained the pool because the detective guy, like, doesn't like blood. He's like, he's fine, you know, he knows what his job entails, but he just does not like the scenes where it's really bloody. So she's like, oh, well, if I drain the pool of all the blood, then he'll definitely come. Bitch, you crazy? Like, it was like, what? You know? And so, you know, he gets there, you know, they're trying to figure things out. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. So, like, anyway, fast forward towards the end of the movie where, like, the woman, she is driving a Maserati, first of all. Like, I was just like, whoa. She's, like, driving this Maserati. And I was like, damn. Who knew, like, you know, just being, like, a crazy bitch could get you a car like that. But anyway, she's driving a Maserati. And she's on the phone with the detective guy. And she's like, I'm gonna go. And, you know, which becomes the decision to leave title. But she's, you know, she's like, I'm gonna go. I'm, you know, this, that, whatever, and the third. And the guy's like, no, like, you know, I'm coming to find you, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, like, a GPS thing. He's like, trying to find her. And she's like, no, blah. And it's like, you would think it would, again, this movie kind of kept you on your toes, especially when it hit that turn. You're like, okay, well, I don't even know anymore. Like, you think it's going to be, again, very kind of generic, because there's, like, a romance story, that they're going to, like, find each other, like, on the beach, and he's going to be like, no, don't, and she's going to be like, I won't, mwah. But it's like, she gets there, like, what was it, like, 30 minutes to an hour? Like, she gets there way before him. Obviously, you know, the way how these stories are told makes it seem like it's happening at the same time when it's not. But anyway, so, like, she gets there, and then she just starts digging a hole on the beach. She's just like, well, I'm just digging this hole. And I'm like, what do you do? Like, at first I was like, I just don't know, what is she, like, what are you doing? Why are you digging a hole? Like, you know? And then she gets in the hole. And she just, like, gets in there. And then, like, the water starts washing in, and she's just kind of like, it's just her being like, this is it. This is how I'm gonna go. Like, instead of, like, walking into the sea like a normal person would, like I would, she just, like, dug a hole, and she's like, I'm here right now. This is where I live. And then, like, the sand and water just starts, like, filling up. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And by the time the guy gets there, you know, it's the only car there, so it's a fucking Maserati. He gets there, and he's, like, running around the beach and being like, hey, the fuck are you? Like, hey, like, trying to look for her and all that stuff. You know, like, the Tidas come in, and, you know, he's just, like, running around, be like, hey. Doesn't realize that, like, when he got there, and there was, like, that, you know, that little bit of sand, and then kind of part that looks slightly sunk in a little, like he was, like, standing on her grave. Like, he had no idea. The dude has no idea that, like, she's been dead, you know? And he's just kind of like, where are you? Running around the beach, like, like, thinking maybe she's in the water, not realizing she's in that hole, like, in the sand. Like, what? That ending is what made me go, alright, I was gonna go 4 stars, but this is gonna go in a 4.5. Like, holy fuck. I was just like, what the fuck? Jesus Christ. Just like, the movie was like, alright, it's what do you think it's gonna be? It's like a K-drama thing, all the crime stuff. You know, a lot of, like, Asian crime dramas are very interesting to watch, especially because we're so used to Western things, especially American, like, propaganda shit is very like, oh, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's very obviously gun heavy, you know, all that stuff. Not very much about solving crime, you know, that kind of stuff. So when you watch a lot of Asian stuff, like, oh my god, what is it called? I know it in Chinese, but what is it called? Internal Affairs, that the Hong Kong series, you know, that's really good. You know, later became The Departed, but, you know. But yeah, like, a lot of Asian, like, crime dramas are very interesting because obviously, like, crime is handled differently where they are. Obviously, there is a lack of guns, you know, and the crimes are usually different, you know. It's not just like, there was a shooting, there was another shooting. It's like, bitches be killing their husbands, you know. You know, and then it's like, okay, fine, you know, like, I'm with you. And then it just goes into this thing of, like, no, it's too easy for her to be the killer. Too easy. No, you guys just fall in love. This is the movie, right? This is the movie. It's a crime thing, but it's really a love story, yet y'all love each other. Okay. What? Huh? No, she really did kill her husband. Wait, she did. She killed her husband. She actually killed her husband. Oh, oh. Oh, she got a new husband now. Oh, he did. Oh. And she's in a hole in the beach. Okay. Well. Well. Okay, ma'am. Jesus, that just... It's a very good movie. And if you get a chance to watch it, geez, oh my god, oh my god. It's, like, I was not expecting any of that, you know? And especially, like, in this day and age, with the amount of movies I watch, like, a movie has to, like... There has to be some type of, like, oh, fuck kind of element, really, for me to be like, okay, I really like this movie, you know? But anyway, yeah. That was Decision to Leave. That my brain decided to leave after that. I watched the movie and then I just sat there for a bit. I watched it like yesterday or the day before. See, I don't even remember. That's what happened. The movie was like Decision to Leave, and then my brain was like, no, you're gonna go too, you know? Anyway, yes. Decision to Leave.